The truck driver rescues a puppy and her puppies trapped between broken glass. Some time later, this puppy does something that leaves everyone in shock. It was a freezing night, one of those that seems to cut the skin. In the middle of a desert road, a puppy named Luna had been abandoned along with her 3 puppies. Everything seemed planned to hinder any possibility of survival. Glass pieces were scattered on the ground as traps, surrounding the little ones. Luna was wounded. Her legs bled due to the crystals, but that didn't stop her from trying to protect her puppies with her own body. She was slowly getting sick, not only because of the pain, but because of the desperation of not knowing what to do. Her eyes were looking for help, but she only found the indifference of the night. The puppies, still very small, crouched next to her, trembling with cold and hunger. The night seemed endless. Every second was a fight against fear. The silence of that road made everything even more terrifying, only broken by the sound of the wind and Luna's weak moans. Anyone who passed by there could think that he had already lost hope, but reality was different. Luna still held a small spark of hope. It was as if she knew she had to resist them, for those puppies who had just begun to live. As the dawn advanced, the fatigue defeated her, but she remained awake, watching. Although exhausted, they reflected an unbreakable determination. He could not give up, because he knew that if he did, his puppies would not have any opportunity. At that moment, Luna was not just a bitch. She was a mother fighting against all adversities. The cold, the pain, and the abandonment, driven only by the force of love. While she protected her puppies with all the little she could offer, the world seemed cruelly indifferent to her suffering. But Luna didn't know that fate was already moving her wings. Something was about to happen, something that would change everything. That terrible night would turn into a story that no one would forget. The dawn was dark, and the only sound that broke the silence was the distant roar of a truck. It was Roberto, a truck driver known for his kindness and his simple way of seeing life. He followed his route as many times, but that night was different. The wind was colder, and something inside him made him feel strange, as if they were calling him. When approaching a curve on the road, the headlights of his truck illuminated a scene that forced him to brake immediately. In the middle of the empty road, he saw a thin and wounded dog. Around him, small puppies crouched next to his body, trying to escape the cold. Roberto stopped the truck on the side of the road and stayed a few seconds watching. Who could do something like that? Feeling a knot in the throat. It wasn't just sadness, it was indignation. He knew he couldn't just follow his path as if nothing had happened. Without a doubt, Roberto got out of the truck. The cold cut his face, but he didn't care. When he approached, he noticed the pieces of glass scattered on the floor. A false step and he himself could get hurt. But that didn't stop him either. "Hello, little one, calm down. I'm going to help you," he said with the calmest voice he could, although inside he felt the heart tight when he heard the moans of Luna. The dog raised her head, tired and distressed, but it seemed to understand that that man was not there to hurt her. His eyes met with his, and it was as if they were telling him, "Please, help my puppies." Roberto breathed deeply, put on some gloves he had in the truck, and began to clean the area around them. I knew that a sudden movement could scare them even more. The puppies shrunk every time they got closer, but Luna remained still, watching every single movement. "I know, girl, it must hurt, but trust me. I'm going to get you out of here." The scene was heartbreaking. A simple man, in the middle of the night, risking his life to save a dog and her puppies. Roberto didn't consider himself a hero, but there, on that deserted road, he was doing something that few would dare to do. Stop, worry, and choose to make the difference. Before continuing, leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you love animals and you like their stories. Roberto knew he had to act fast. The night was freezing and Luna and her puppies would not resist much longer in that situation. But every step was a challenge. The scattered crystals seemed to hinder any attempt to rescue. He adjusted his work gloves and began, "Calm, girl, just a little more and you will be safe," he said, trying to calm himself as much as Luna. Luna was exhausted, but she did not look away from Roberto. It seemed to understand that that man was his only hope. Despite the pain, he did not show his teeth or grunt, he just looked, as if saying, "I trust you." With careful movements, Roberto picked up each piece of glass. The sharp tips shone under the dim light of the flashlight that held it. He crouched, carefully moving the crystals away, but the fear of hurting Luna even more and her puppies made his hands tremble. When he finally managed to clear enough space, he knelt next to Luna. The cold and dirty floor did not matter. He needed to get those dogs out of there. He took out an old blanket that he had in the truck, the only one he used to cover himself during the trips, and improvised a kind of bed to carry the puppies. "Come on, little ones," slowly. He picked up the first puppy, who was shivering with both cold and fear. Then the second and finally the third. At first, the little ones seemed wary, but when they felt the warmth of the blanket, they stopped resisting. When Luna's turn came, Roberto hesitated for a moment. She was hurt, exhausted, and probably afraid of being hurt again. But, to his surprise, Luna did not resist. On the contrary, he lifted his snout, looked at his puppies, then at Roberto, and let himself be carried away. "Good girl, you're strong," he said while he was sitting in the truck with his puppies. It was as if Luna knew that she could trust that man. He crouched next to the puppies despite the reduced space, and sighed as if he felt relief. For the first time that night, he seemed to believe that everything would be fine. Roberto closed the truck door, turned on the engine and started the engine. While driving, he looked out the rearview mirror, seeing the moon in the sky, protecting his puppies. He knew that there was still a lot to do, but at least for now, they were safe. When he arrived at the gas station where he used to stop, Roberto knew that he needed help. He parked the truck and went directly to Clara, the dependent who was always on duty at that time. Clara was known for her love for animals, and Roberto knew that she was the right person for that moment. "Clara, I need your help. It's urgent," he said with a voice full of concern. Clara left the counter immediately when she saw Roberto's expression. When she looked inside the truck and saw Luna and her puppies, she put her hands to her mouth in surprise. "My God, Roberto, what happened to them?" she asked with her eyes already filled with tears. "Someone abandoned them in the middle of the road, surrounded by glass. The mother is hurt and the little ones are weak. I didn't know what to do, so I brought them here." Clara didn't waste time. She took out a bottle that she kept in the gas station and brought clean towels and warm water. Together they improvised a space to take care of Luna and the puppies. "It's going to hurt a little, but I promise you we're going to help you," Clara said while she was carefully cleaning Luna's wounded legs. Luna did not react aggressively despite the pain. She only looked at Clara with a mixture of fatigue and gratitude. It seemed to me that those people were there to help her. Roberto fed the puppies with pieces of bread soaked in milk, the only thing he had achieved in the gas station. At first, the little ones seemed confused and hesitant, but soon they began to eat one by one. Seeing that filled Roberto and Clara's hearts with heat. It was as if, little by little, hope was returning to those animals. "They need a veterinarian, Roberto. The wounds of the mother could get infected. And the puppies also need attention," he said while he was tying one of Luna's legs. "I know. As soon as I finish my route, I'll take them to the city. I'm not going to leave them." Clara smiled, moved by Roberto's determination. They worked together until late at night, cleaning wounds, feeding the little ones, and making sure everyone was comfortable in the truck. When everything was calmer, Clara caressed Luna's head and said, "You were lucky to find Roberto. Now he's your guardian angel." That it wasn't easy to get emotional, she felt a knot in her chest. She looked at Luna and replied, "I don't know if I was the one who saved her, Clara. Maybe she came to teach me something." Luna, as if she understood, fell down with her puppies and closed her eyes. For the first time in a long time, she and her little ones were able to rest in peace. The days that followed the rescue were full of changes for Luna and her puppies. As soon as she finished her route, Roberto fulfilled the promise that he had made to Clara. Took the puppy and the little ones to a veterinary in the city. It was a simple clinic, but enough to guarantee that everyone received the necessary attention. The veterinary carefully examined Luna, treated the wounds on her legs and evaluated the puppies, who, although thin and fragile, still had good chances of recovering. Luna, as always, seemed to understand everything. She remained calm, letting the veterinary work, but without taking the eyes of the puppies. Like a caring mother. When everything was over, Roberto got back in the truck, and while driving home, he began to think about what he would do. He lived alone in a small farm, far from the noise of the city. It was a quiet place, with plenty of space for Luna and the puppies to run and play. "I think they'll like it there," he said while driving. Upon arriving at the farm, Roberto prepared a space in the porch, using soft blankets and a large box like a bed. It was something simple, but welcoming. Luna smelled the atmosphere, still cautious, while the dogs explored the place with clumsy steps. "Welcome to your new home, little ones," Roberto said with a smile on his face. With time, Luna began to relax. She came to trust Roberto completely, following him everywhere. Meanwhile, the dogs grew quickly, filling the house with life and disorder. Roberto named them Calle Bavalin. Each one had a unique personality, but everyone seemed to have inherited loyalty and courage from their mother. Luna, on the other hand, proved to be an incredible companion. Always alert, she watched the farm as if she knew that now it was the place she had to protect. But beyond that, she was always by Roberto's side, showing him gratitude in all possible ways. As soon as he sat on the sofa, he went out to the patio. Luna appeared, moving her tail and asking for caresses. For Roberto, Luna's presence and the puppies changed everything. Before, he spent the days alone, following his routine without any big expectations. Now, his home was full of joy, and every day seemed like a new adventure. One day, while he watched Luna and the puppies play in the yard, Roberto murmured to himself, "I never thought that saving them would change my life so much." And it really did. Because, with Luna by his side, Roberto discovered that the love and loyalty of an animal can even turn the most difficult days into moments of pure happiness. It was a common morning for Roberto, or at least that seemed. He was on the road, like so many other times, with the radio playing softly and the mind calm. However, there was something in the air, a strange feeling that he could not explain. The sky was gray, loaded with clouds, as if announcing that something was about to happen. The road he knew also seemed quieter that day. Roberto had gone through that dangerous curve countless times. He knew he was treacherous, especially when the asphalt was wet, but he had always felt safe thanks to his experience at the wheel. However, at that moment, something unexpected was about to happen. As he approached the curve, a slight rain began to fall. The windshield wipers moved slowly, and Roberto, always attentive, reduced the speed. I knew that curves like that didn't forgive mistakes. But when I took the curve, something I couldn't predict happened. The truck slipped. Everything happened in a matter of seconds. But for Roberto, it seemed that time slowed down. He felt like the steering wheel was losing control and the weight of the truck was pulling to the wrong side. The sound of the tires scraping the asphalt resonated in his ears like a desperate cry. He tried to regain control, but it was too late. The truck left the road. He was hit with a rock that seemed to shake the ground. The impact was brutal. Roberto felt his body being thrown against the seat, while the seat belt was holding him tightly. When it all ended, the world around him was silent. The truck cabin was tilted, the glass broken, and the gasoline smell filled the air. Roberto tried to move, but a sharp pain ran through his leg. He looked down and saw that he was trapped between the twisted metal pieces. A cold sweat ran down his face as he tried to control his breath. "No, it can't end like this," he murmured, trying to free his leg without success. The radio still emitted a weak sound, a music that seemed so far away as the help it needed. With difficulty, Roberto took his cell phone, but there was no signal. He tried to scream, but the road was deserted, and his voice seemed to be lost in the void. The pain increased, and despair took over him. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to find strength to not give up. He thought about Luna, about his puppies, about the farm that was now his home full of life. He thought about how they depended on him. "I can't stay here." "Not now," he said, struggling to stay conscious. But time passed, and Roberto's strength began to weaken. Every second made hope seem further away. The road, before so familiar, now seemed an hostile place. Without anyone close to hear or help him. What Roberto did not know was that, a few kilometers away, someone already felt that something was wrong. At the farm, Luna started acting strangely, as if she knew that her protector was in danger. At that moment, A connection that went beyond human comprehension began to form, uniting Roberto's destiny with Luna's strength and courage. At the farm, everything seemed normal that morning. The sun shone between the trees, and the puppies played in the yard, like every day. But something was different. Luna, who always watched them closely, was not interested in the game. She walked from one side to the other, restless, with a fixed gaze on the road in the distance. She stopped from time to time, she raised her ears and smelled the air, as if trying to capture something that no one else could perceive. Luna was altered, and her puppies noticed her, approaching her confused. But he didn't calm them down as he used to do. On the contrary, he would let go of small moans, look at the horizon and walk again in circles. Suddenly, he began to bark. It wasn't a common barking of those that dogs do when they're playing or trying to get attention. It was an urgent sound, loaded with anguish, as if he were trying to warn something. Anyone who passed by there could think that it was just a restless dog, but it wasn't like that. Luna knew it. She knew something was wrong. Roberto was in danger and Luna could feel it. It was as if there was an invisible link between the two, a connection that words cannot explain. The more time passed, the more restless Luna became. Her barking intensified and she began to scratch the door of the gate, desperate to get out. One of the people who worked at the farm heard the noise and approached. "What's up, Luna? All right?" But Luna didn't calm down. She ran from one side to the other, looking at the gate and then at the road, as if she was begging someone to understand what was happening. The person opened the gate thinking that she just wanted to go out for a quick walk, but Luna came out fired like lightning without looking back. It was impressive to see her determination. Despite not knowing exactly where Roberto was, Luna ran as if she had a map in her head, guided only by her instinct. He crossed small trails and reached the desert road. His eyes were fixed, and his heart beat with force, but he did not stop. With each step, the smell of gasoline and burned tires became stronger. And then he saw it, Roberto's truck turned to the side of the road. Luna stopped for a second, watching the scene with her eyes wide open, and then began to run faster. When he arrived near the truck, he saw Roberto trapped between the remains of the vehicle. He was wounded, pale, but he opened his eyes when he heard Luna's desperate bark. "Luna, you came," he murmured in a weak but full of relief voice. Luna began to bark nonstop, running around the truck, trying to draw someone's attention. It was as if she knew she had to act quickly, that every second counted. And it was at that moment that Luna's true heroism began to shine. Luna did not stop. Desperate. It was as if she was screaming for help, stealing for someone to show up. Roberto, trapped between the irons, watched the dog with heavy eyes, struggling to stay conscious. He could hardly believe Luna was there. "Good girl, you found me," he whispered, his voice barely audible. But Luna had no time to celebrate. She knew she had to act fast. She ran to the center of the road, stopping right where any vehicle that passed by would have to see it. His posture was of pure determination, his tail raised, his legs firm on the ground. He was barking with force, without fear, as if he knew that Roberto's life depended on it. And then, in the horizon, some headlights appeared. A car approached. Luna did not hesitate, ran towards the middle of the road and began to jump and bark. He suddenly stopped, surprised to see the dog on his way. "What is this? A dog?" he said, looking at Luna, who was still barking, almost as if he were asking her to follow her. Julio got out of the car, somewhat doubtful, but Luna left no doubt. He ran towards the truck, stopping and looking back to make sure the man was following her. "Wait, girl, what do you want to show me?" Julio murmured, intrigued. When he approached the truck, the scene left him speechless. He saw Roberto trapped between the iron, wounded and pale, but still conscious. "My God!" Julio exclaimed, taking out his phone to call the emergency services. While he was talking to the operator, Luna did not separate from Roberto. He got in the truck, licking his hands and moving his tail as if he wanted to say, "I did it, I found help." Roberto, with a weak voice, tried to caress his head. "Luna," she said, her eyes filled with tears. Soon after, the sirens of an ambulance began to be heard in the distance. The sound, which had once signified despair, now brought hope. Luna, hearing the sirens, ran back towards the road, barking once more, as if to make sure the rescuers would find their way to Roberto. The firemen arrived quickly and used tools to free Roberto from the iron bars. Luna stayed by his side, refusing to move away even when they tried to move her away. "Let her stay. She is my heroine," Roberto said, with a weak smile but full of gratitude. When they finally managed to get Roberto out of the truck, they put him in the ambulance. Luna tried to get in too, but they prevented it. He stayed looking while the ambulance left, but something in his gaze said that he knew that now he would be safe. And at that moment, the bond between the two became unbreakable. In the hospital, while Roberto was recovering, there was only one thing in his mind: Luna. He clearly remembered his desperate barks, how he faced the desert road and got help when he needed it most. For Roberto, Luna was not just a bitch, she was his savior, his angel of 4 legs. The doctors said that Roberto was lucky enough to survive. If the rescue had taken longer, the consequences could have been much worse. He listened to the doctors, but his mind was always on Luna. He knew he wouldn't have left that road alive if it weren't for her. Meanwhile, on the farm, Luna also seemed different. Although she was surrounded by her puppies, she looked at the door as if she were waiting for Roberto to return at any moment. No matter how much they tried to distract her, Luna was restless, as if she felt that her mission had not yet finished. After a few days, when Roberto was finally given a raise, the first thing he asked was to go home. He wanted to see Luna and the puppies. He wanted to thank the bitch who had risked everything for him. When the car stopped in front of the farm, Luna was the first to realize. She raised her ears, ran towards the gate and began to bark uncontrollably. As soon as Roberto got out of the car, Luna shot him and hugged her tightly. "You saved me, Luna. I will never forget this." "Never," he said, his voice cracking as he stroked her head. Luna licked his face, wagging her tail so hard she seemed to want to say, "I knew you would come back." The puppies also ran to him, jumping around Roberto. But it was clear that Luna had something special in that moment. She curled up next to him as she had been doing since she was. There was an even stronger bond between them, something that didn't need words to be understood. The following days, Luna's story began to spread throughout the region. Everyone wanted to know more about the heroine dog that had saved its owner. Friends, neighbors, and even strangers began to visit the farm to meet Luna, but she didn't care about attention. For her, the only thing that mattered was being next to Roberto. Roberto, on the other hand, didn't skimp on care and affection. "I bought a new necklace for Luna with a medal where she wrote, 'My angel with 4 legs.' Every time I looked at her, I felt a deep gratitude, something that words could never fully express. Luna, you are not just a dog. You are my family, and I promise to take care of you and your puppies for the rest of my life." And so, the man who once rescued Luna now understood that, in reality, she had rescued him. The bond between the two was something strange, built in the midst of pain, fear, and above all, loyalty. The days at the farm never became the same again. Luna and her puppies brought life and joy to the place, but more than that, they transformed Roberto's heart. He, who used to live alone, now felt that his home was complete. Luna was not just a dog for him. She was his heroine, his most loyal companion, his family. The neighbors spoke with admiration about the value of the dog and the special connection between the two. People who had never stepped on the farm appeared to meet the heroine dog. Roberto always received them with a smile, but made it clear. "Heroine? She is much more than that. She is my friend, my protector. Without her, I would not be here." Luna, however, seemed indifferent to the interest of people. For her, Roberto was the only thing that mattered. Where he was, she was there. If he sat on the porch, she lay down on his feet. If he worked on the farm, she followed him, always watching. It was as if Luna knew that her mission now was to protect him forever. The puppies, who grew up quickly, also demonstrated the same loyalty as their mother. Kaye, Bob and John were twins, but when it came to Roberto, they showed the same dedication as Luna. They ran through the courtyard, played among themselves. But they were always attentive to Roberto's call. Over time, Roberto began to realize that Luna's presence and the puppies had transformed his life in ways he never imagined. Before, the farm was just a place where he slept during his travels. Now, it was a home full of love and purpose. One afternoon, while he watched Luna and the puppies play in the grass, Roberto felt a wave of emotion invade him. He remembered how he found Luna that cold night and how, even wounded and scared, never stopped protecting her puppies. Of course, I would never forget how she saved her life when she needed it most. Luna, you have no idea how much you mean to me. You gave me a second chance and I will never let your puppies go through something bad again, Roberto said, with eyes full of tears, while caressing his head. Luna looked at him with that deep and comprehensive look that only dogs have. I know. And I will always be here for you. Life at the farm remained calm, but with a new meaning. Every day was a celebration of friendship and loyalty that Roberto and Luna had built. Although the future is always uncertain, there was something clear. They would face anything together. Roberto and Luna's story was not just about a rescue or an heroic act. It was about how love and loyalty can transform lives. About how even the most difficult moments can give rise to something extraordinary. And so, in the farm that was once silent and lonely, now the laughter reigned, the barking and a bond that no force in the world could break. Thanks for watching the video until the end. Remember to like, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment with your opinion about this story.